Most people don't ruin their lives by making bad choices. They ruin them by making comfortable ones. Think about this. A job that pays the bills, a routine you know by heart, weekends that all feel the same. Nothing is wrong, but nothing is really growing either. That's how the comfort zone works. It doesn't hurt you. It just quietly keeps you where you are. And here's the dangerous part. The longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to imagine a bigger life. The lesson is simple, but uncomfortable. What feels safe today may be costing you your future. In a moment, I'll tell you a real story about someone who thought they were fine, until life forced them to realize how fragile comfortable really is. Stay with me. There's someone like this in almost every city in America. Maybe it's you. They wake up at the same time every morning, drive the same route, sit at the same desk, do the job well enough to stay employed. The paycheck covers rent, groceries, streaming subscriptions, maybe a short vacation once a year. From the outside, everything looks fine. No crisis, no drama, no obvious failure. But late at night, when the noise is gone, there's a quiet feeling they can't explain. Not pain, not panic, just this thought. Is this really all I'm capable of? That's the comfort zone. It doesn't scream, it doesn't warn you. It gently convinces you that fine is the same as enough. Here's the small but powerful lesson. You don't fall behind all at once. You fall behind one comfortable day at a time. And the problem isn't that this life is bad. The problem is that it asks nothing more from you. Because when life eventually does ask for more strength, more skill, more resilience, comfort won't prepare you. And that's where the real danger begins. Let me show you why staying comfortable for too long can cost you far more than you ever expected. The comfort zone isn't bad. It's just not enough. The comfort zone isn't evil. It's not lazy. It's not a failure. In fact, at some point in your life, it probably protected you. A steady job, a predictable routine, knowing what tomorrow looks like. That kind of stability matters. But here's the truth most people miss. What protects you in one season of life can quietly limit you in the next. There's a real-world example most people recognize. In the early days, Jeff Bezos had a stable, high-paying job on Wall Street. Good salary, prestige, security. By every definition, he was safe. And yet, he walked away from that comfort to start Amazon. Not because he was reckless, but because he understood something crucial. Years later, he explained that decision with a simple idea. People regret the chances they don't take far more than the ones they try and fail at. That's the part most people misunderstand. The comfort zone isn't wrong. It's just designed for maintenance, not growth. I've seen this same pattern play out on a smaller scale. Someone stays in the same role for years, not because they love it, but because it's familiar. They stop learning new skills. They stop stretching themselves. They tell themselves, at least it's stable. Everything feels fine, until the company restructures, until technology changes, until the world moves forward without asking permission. And suddenly, the safe place isn't safe anymore. Here's the lesson people usually learn too late. Your comfort zone only works when the world stands still, and the world never does. Staying comfortable doesn't mean you're failing, but staying there too long means you're unprepared. Because life doesn't reward what used to be enough. It rewards who you're becoming. And once you really understand that, you start to notice something even more dangerous than comfort itself, the illusion that you still have plenty of time. Let's talk about that next. Comfort creates the illusion that you're doing fine. Comfort is convincing. That's what makes it dangerous. When life isn't painful, we assume it's working. Bills are paid. The routine feels manageable. Nothing is falling apart. So we tell ourselves, I'm fine. But comfort doesn't ask the question that matters most. Are you growing or just staying functional? Here's a real-world example that feels familiar. There are people who stay in the same situation for years. Same habits, same schedule, same goals they keep planning to start someday. They're not miserable. They're not struggling. They're just comfortable. And that comfort slowly creates an illusion that time is on their side. There's a reason Warren Buffett once said, "The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken." That's exactly how comfort works. It doesn't trap you overnight. It trains you gradually. You tell yourself you'll start later, when things calm down, when work is less demanding, when you feel more confident. Later feels responsible, later feels safe, until later becomes years. Here's the quiet lesson most people miss. Comfort doesn't tell you to stop chasing more. It convinces you that there's no rush. And without urgency, nothing moves. People don't wake up one day and suddenly feel behind. They wake up confused, wondering how so much time passed without much changing. Comfort didn't fail them. It simply kept them waiting. And once you understand that illusion, you're ready for a harder truth. Eventually, life won't give you the luxury of waiting. Let me show you what happens when comfort finally meets real pressure. Life hits before you're ready. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Life doesn't wait for perfect timing. It doesn't care how prepared you feel. It arrives when it arrives. There's a sentence that sounds almost brutal, but it's real. Mike Tyson once said, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." That line isn't about boxing, it's about life. Let me give you a real-world picture. A young family in America, both parents working, health insurance through an employer, a little money in savings. They're doing what society calls responsible. Then one unexpected diagnosis changes everything. Not a sudden death, not a dramatic accident, just a serious illness that requires long-term treatment. Insurance covers part of it, but not all of it, and not forever. Savings drain faster than expected, debt creeps in quietly, and stress becomes a daily companion. The hardest moment isn't the medical bill. It's the realization we thought we were prepared, but we were only prepared for normal. Here's the lesson no one wants to learn the hard way. Comfort prepares you for average days, not hard ones. It teaches you how to maintain, not how to adapt, not how to endure pressure, not how to respond when the rules suddenly change. Because when life hits, you don't suddenly become stronger. You rely on the strength, skills, and discipline you built before the crisis. And most people don't build those things in comfort. That's why waiting until you feel ready is dangerous. Readiness doesn't come before hardship. It's revealed by it. Which leads to the next truth. If comfort won't build the strength you need, what actually does? Let's talk about that next. Growth doesn't come from motivation. It comes from hard choices. Most people are waiting for motivation. They think growth begins when they feel ready, when they feel confident, when they feel inspired. But feelings are unstable. They change with sleep, stress, and circumstance. Real growth doesn't. There's a reason why Kobe Bryant used to say something that confused a lot of people. "I don't negotiate with laziness." That wasn't arrogance, it was clarity. Kobe didn't train harder because he felt motivated. He trained because he had already decided the kind of person he was going to be. While others slept in, he showed up early. While others skipped practice when they were tired, he leaned into the fatigue. Not because it was fun, but because it was necessary. Now bring this back to real life. Two people start in the same place, same job, same responsibilities, same amount of time. One waits for the right mood. They work when they feel good. They stop when they don't. The other makes a quieter decision. They do the uncomfortable thing first. They keep going when it's boring. They show up even when no one is watching. Years later, the difference isn't talent, it's tolerance for discomfort. Here's the lesson that changes everything. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. Comfort asks, "How do I feel today?" Growth asks, "What standard am I willing to live by?" And every hard choice, the early mornings, the honest conversations, the effort on days you'd rather quit, builds something motivation never can: consistency, identity, strength. Once you understand that, you stop chasing inspiration. You start building reliability. And that leads us to the next truth. You don't need to destroy your life to grow, but you do need the courage to redesign how comfortable it feels. Let's talk about that next. You don't need to be reckless. You need strategic courage. Let's clear up a dangerous misunderstanding. Leaving your comfort zone does not mean blowing up your life. It doesn't mean quitting your job tomorrow. It doesn't mean risking everything on one emotional decision. That's not growth. That's impulse. Real progress comes from controlled discomfort. There's a reason Dwight D. Eisenhower once said, "Plans are worthless, but planning is everything." He wasn't saying planning guarantees success. He was saying preparation gives you options. That's strategic courage. Here's what that looks like in real life. Someone knows their current job isn't where they want to stay, but instead of panicking, they make a quiet plan. They keep the job, but they wake up earlier. They spend nights learning a new skill. They start applying, one opportunity at a time. Nothing dramatic changes overnight. No one applauds, no one notices. But behind the scenes, something important is happening. They're increasing their capacity without destroying their stability. Here's the lesson most people get wrong. You don't escape the comfort zone by jumping off a cliff. You escape it by building a bridge, one plank at a time. 30 minutes a day doing something uncomfortable. One honest conversation you've been avoiding. One habit replaced instead of added. That's how courage actually works. Not loud, not reckless, but intentional. And here's the surprising part. The more you choose discomfort on purpose, the less scary it feels. You stop feeling reckless. You start feeling capable. Which brings us to the final truth. Knowing all of this means nothing unless you act on it. So let's bring this home. Wake up, then move. Here's the truth most people avoid for years. Nothing changes until you do. Not when you understand more, not when you feel inspired, but when you act differently, especially when it's uncomfortable. There's a moment I've seen again and again. Someone reaches their late 30s or 40s. They're not broken. They're not failures. They just look back and say, "I kept waiting." And somehow time ran out. That moment doesn't come from one bad decision. It comes from thousands of comfortable ones. And here's something that makes this moment in history different. If you don't do the work, AI will do it for you. Fast. Not in the future. Not someday. Right now. Jobs, skills, entire roles. Comfort used to buy people time. It doesn't anymore. That's why a century ago, Theodore Roosevelt said something that still cuts deep today. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing. That's what this comes down to. Not a dramatic leap, not a perfect plan, just movement instead of waiting. Think about tomorrow morning. The alarm goes off. You'll feel that pull toward what's familiar, the easy routine, the comfortable excuse. And right there, that's the moment that matters. Here's the lesson to carry with you. Your future isn't shaped by big breakthroughs. It's shaped by the small, uncomfortable choices you repeat before something else replaces you. So don't promise yourself a new life. Promise yourself one hard action in the next 24 hours, one conversation you've been avoiding, one skill you've been putting off learning, one block of focused effort that makes you harder to replace. If this message hit you, write this in the comments. The uncomfortable thing I'm doing today is odd. Make it real. Make it public. Make it now. And if you want more messages like this, not to hype you up, but to challenge you, subscribe and stay with us. Because comfort will always be available. Time won't, and neither will your current position. The choice is yours.